and welcome to another episode of Lexx Education. Woo woo woo! It's the hutch-based comedy podcast where comedian me, Laura Lexx, squats in a hutch with her normal hutchy brother Ron.
It's an early morning hutch record.
Is this the earliest we've recorded?
By far.
It's 7:40 a.m.
Yeah.
Life's horrible now.
Yeah. It's hutch-based.
It's hutch-based. Ron's leaving today.
Yeah.
I'm so sad about that.
We're not talking about it, though.
No. Hey, listeners. You're the highlight of the world. How are you all? Are you well? Brilliant.
Giddy.
Giddy. It's like stress giddy. That's where we are. It's physics this week, Ron.
Yeah, it is. What did we do? What was this lesson about?
I don't know. I haven't listened to it.
No, and I didn't make good notes while I was editing it.
You never do.
I try.
Do you?
Sometimes.
Is this you trying?
Sometimes I try.
Sometimes I try. No, that's the one. I try to say, I try to make some notes and a joke. That's what I was so early. so
I was asking for it.
Like implicitly they are asking, aren't they?
They're not necessarily for early morning hutch karaoke.
Oh, wrong. Yeah, it's physics. I know at the beginning we sort of...
Oh, I know what it's about. It's elasticity.
Elasticity. There's no songs about elasticity. Yeah. I mean, why would anybody spend an hour of their life trying to learn that? It's mad.
But we did.
We did. I don't think it went that well. I remember us sort of discussing more like history and sociology for a while, and then we got to the physics and we were sad.
There was another 3-part recorder, because in the middle... Or maybe that's spoilers. Let's talk about that afterwards. What I do need to talk about, though, is that at the beginning, at the top of the podcast, we're talking about... early development of civilizations, I think.
Yeah.
And I talk about how people haven't been in Australia and New Zealand for very long, which has affected the way that their society developed. I was getting confused. I meant it's only New Zealand that applies to.
Oh.
People have only been in New Zealand for like 1,000 years or something crazy like that.
Really?
Whereas, and this is very interesting friend of the podcast, Eve, studied Aborigine culture in some form for her masters, and I was talking to her about it because the Aborigine people were one of the first groups to leave Africa.
Really?
So they've actually been in Australia for longer than people have been in Europe.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because apparently it took us like 3 tries to work our way through Europe.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's cold.
And like full of bears and stuff back then. So yeah, I'm going to talk about that, but I'm wrong. But I thought I'd leave it in because everyone gets stuff wrong.
Oh, all right. Yeah, okay. I just assume I'm right about what I'm talking about.
Do you?
No, never. But I think I put in a disclaimer straight away going, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is an exchange I saw on Twitter, so I'm covered. Oh, look at that bird trying to get in the window.
Oh, wow.
Get out of the hutch, bird. We're working.
It's a work hutch now.
Yeah, it's not a bird hutch anymore. Very much enjoyed your insults this week on social media. We were asking because...
I thought you were just talking to me.
You haven't insulted me this week. You've been aware of how delicate my situation is.
Yeah.
Oh no, the starling's trying to get back in the nest. But I think you've fledged now, starling. You're too big. Go elsewhere.
The hutch is alive with nature.
This is unfocused even for us. Well, absolute. I think in last week's episode I called you an absolute bandwidth.
Yeah.
As an insult.
People loved it.
People loved it. So we've been coming up with what are your favourite non-insults that you can use as an insult. And there's been a lot of love for kitchen equipment on the socials this week. But if you've got any that are not kitchen equipment, flaming spatula, you know.
I haven't seen any of this.
Nah, you were out drinking.
Yeah.
Like a boy. So
Like a boy would do.
Like a boy would do, and you did. So there you go. Enjoy some of us getting the world wrong, some of us getting physics wrong, and we'll see you afterwards. Okay, we'll go. You'll go for Laura.
Ron.
What?
What did you say?
I said you'll go for Laura.
You'll go for Laura.
Yeah, like you can speak to me now. Isn't that a thing?
You'll go for Laura.
Go for Laura?
Yeah, that's fine.
You just... Okay.
But the go's not mine.
Oh.
It's like, go at it. It's a race, go.
Oh.
If you were starting a race, you wouldn't say, you'll go.
You're Yeah, but I thought it was more like if you're on a radio comms, you'd say, yes, go for Laura, You'll go for Laura.
No, you see, that's where it's weird. You just wouldn't say you're, as far as I'm aware.
Ah. Okay. Well, go for Laura.
Every single record we've done today has had a weird gibbering start.
Yeah, but maybe the middle will be very good.
I'd say the middle's been great. I don't think we've closed any of them off particularly well.
Look, we're not beginners or starters. We just get into a flow in the middle. And if we had a producer, they'd edit the crud off and just inject the pure brilliantness in. But it's not what you weirdos like, from all accounts.
No, they want sound effects and behind the scenes.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this thinking, God, no, I don't, sorry, but you need to be more vocal, or just stop listening, just go away.
Yeah, if you're the last person to tell us something before we make a thing, you will influence it. We do make snap decisions.
We're very,
impulsive.
very, very impulsive based on what we think people will like.
We're impulsive. We are anxious. We try to please, but we don't really remember what pleased people last week. That's the problem.
I think there's also, whenever I listen back to these, I always think there's a moment in each record where you can hear one of us lose faith in the premise completely and just kind of go, oh my God, why would anyone listen to this? There's this, it's there in our voices. What's your dumb cat doing now?
I don't know, I just heard a bang. I ignore it often when she makes noises like that, though, because I figure if I wasn't here, I wouldn't have heard it, and she's not died yet, so probably fine. So we're doing physics today, Laura, and it's just continuing this death march through what we've been doing, but you know what? We're not even in down anymore, so there's not even really any bants to have around that. Fuck, it didn't take long to get to the point, did it? Where one of us lost faith in the concept.
At least we're done with down, because honestly, Ron, it was killing me going over the same stuff again. And as a present to you, I'm in a very calm mood, and I feel pretty tired but zen. So I'm gonna do my best to come at this with biology energy.
Okay. We'll see how long that lasts, but we'll give it a damn good go, okay?
Okay.
So the first thing that we've got to do, we've got to finish off what we were doing last time on elasticity.
Oh my God, you just said we'd finished it.
Well, we finished down, there's no women rolling balls downhill, but we've got it, like I've just said before you interrupted me, the wheels are coming off the trolley. Gnocchi, no!
That's bad. All I can see is a little tail whipping you in the face. Hi, Gnocchi.
Kiss the pop shield. You hear it purring?
Yeah, a little bit.
No, so we're finishing off elasticity.
Elasticity. Did we start elasticity?
Yes, do you want to go over it again?
No, it's a push me pull you thing, isn't it?
What?
That was it?
Do you have the formula for elastic extension?
Elastic extension. My notes it's just a woman pushing a trolley and I've drawn all the shelves.
I can't see the shelves.
Hang on, where they are around the corner.
Oh, Laura. You've put labels on the items.
Yeah, a crisp cereal and a jar of honey. Elasticity. Force, measured in newtons, equals spring constant, NPM, newtons per metre, probably, times extension metres.
Yep, and what's the spring constant?
How many newtons it takes to pull it a metre?
Yeah. Well done. Yeah, that is what the spring constant is. So the spring constant essentially is just an inherent property of anything that has elastic capabilities.
Okay.
So if you had a really tough spring, it's like, "Urgh," and you don't really pull it that much. That's got a high
like suspension in a car,
Yeah.
Those big springs.
They're going to have a high spring constant. They're
barely even springs, really, are they?
No, they're
Annoying.
springs with high spring constants.
Yeah.
But,
I watched Piglet's big movie the other day, and there's lots of springing about in that because it gives kangaroo's origin story to the 100-acre wood.
Now, that's actually very interesting with kangaroos and wallabies because they're the only things on the planet that bounce around like that.
It's really cool. It's really fascinating. Australia, just very, very interesting. I can't remember, I was reading something, and forgive me, this is like, I know nothing about the subject, so I literally only know what I saw. But someone was being quite racist on Twitter. What? Shock and horror. About Aborigines. And there's, I think, like a common, I'm not sure if it's a misconception or an interesting fact or something, but like they didn't have like wheeled transport, I don't think. And they're one of the only civilisations that didn't have it. And then somebody pointed out where there aren't really pack beasts there before white settlers, so why would you dumbass? Like, it's not a sign that they were stupid. Sorry. It's a sign that was just not fucking useful because they didn't have anything to pull it, you dickhead. You're not going to stick a kangaroo at the front, are you? So, yeah.
Just a note from Ron here. What I'm saying is true of New Zealand, not of Australia. Turns out people have been in Australia for fucking ages. But people get things wrong sometimes. I did a little bit of extra research because I wasn't quite sure. Turns out I was wrong. So listen to this. Talking about New Zealand, not Australia. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, also with the peoples that reached Australia and like New Zealand and stuff, like, they just weren't there for very long. Like the Maori peoples, when white people arrived, they were still like in the Stone Age in inverted commas. Like, they just hadn't been there very long. Like people had been in Africa and Europe and stuff for tens of thousands of years longer than there.
I don't understand what you mean.
As in, like,
where did the Maoris come from?
Well, they came from, like Polynesian people travelling boats and stuff and, like, ending up on islands. But, they'd migrated there.
So they were newly there.
Relatively,
that they hadn't been there that long.
Yeah, because if you think about how, like, if you had to walk from the middle of Africa to New Zealand, that's way further than Africa to Europe or the Middle East or something.
Yeah.
And you have to cross big fucking oceans and shit to get there.
It's going to take a lot longer.
Yeah. But no, the thing with the pack beasts is it goes back, there's a really famous book called Guns, Germs and Steel. And it's basically about how it's like a theory called geodeterminism, and it basically talks about how the sort of the circumstances that you find yourself in as a civilization are a big determining factor in what happens, and it's kind of dispelling the whole great person theory and like, oh, Columbus had a massive penis and that's why he was able to do all the stuff they did. It's actually just like, well, no, it's because in North America, like, unless you're going to try and tame a fucking bison, there is nothing that you could, like, build a fence around to try and, like, box in and sort of, like, have any kind of livestock or anything. And then there's loads of there's loads of threads you can pull on it, because a lot of, like, the diseases that we brought over to, in inverted commas again, the New World, those came from the fact that in, like, these big dense European cities, people were living in close proximity with animals all of the time, and then, zoonosis is where diseases coming from animals, like in the same way coronavirus came from a bat or a pangolin or an armadillo or whatever it was, like, those are the most virile, like, those are the most dangerous diseases, because the ones that have just been passed from human to human all the time, in the same way that Spanish flu that killed millions of people is now just normal flu, they've been tamed down. Whereas if it comes from an animal, it gets really bad, and then that's what we brought over, and that's why they didn't have resistance to these type of things, because they didn't have animals that they lived closely with.
I listened to that The Rest is History podcast that you were talking about. I listened to the Columbus episode.
Oh yeah,
they did a 3-part series, I think, on Columbus, and it was fascinating. I don't really know much about him personally, but, like, I didn't realise he'd sort of died in obscurity, pretty much. Like,
funnily enough, I've just been reading Otto English's Fake History, which talks quite a lot about... Oh, that's
great. I read that.
Yeah, there's a whole bit about Columbus in that, and he says that, there's obviously a couple of, like, all these things come from a couple of different starting points, but it was Irving Washington's, one of his books that started, like, the Columbus myth, and, like, they wanted... Like, it was almost sort of a intentionally fabricated thing of, like, we need a sort of civilized European to be the figurehead of this, because if we actually went back to who the sort of initial founders or settlers were, we'd be talking about, Vikings and barbarians, basically, which isn't the image that they wanted. Because
he didn't actually have that much to do with North America, did he?
Never set foot on North America.
No, I didn't realise that at all. It was way more, I think it was Venezuela he sort of
I thought it was San Domingue, which became Haiti. Haiti.
Oh, right,
I think,
okay.
But I might be
wrong. You probably know more. I never remember the details, but yeah, really good though. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, great book so far. I've just read the whole thing about Dunkirk in that one.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I was thinking about getting that for First Nephew. I think he would really enjoy that. He loves all this, like, raging against the system.
Yeah, he's a cutie.
See how engaged our podcast would be if it was on a subject I was interested in? Oh!
Well,
social sciences, come on!
Anyway, right, so
you did all my history podcasts for me this week because I'm off work a little bit. How did that go?
Oh, it was just like a normal episode of it. Will never got in touch to fucking recording.
Oh, did it not happen?
No.
Well,
yesterday afternoon came and went, and I didn't get a message from it.
Oh my god. Oh, I guess all that work's piling up for me when I get back then. Great. Good.
Anyway. So.
Is that it now? Have we run out of time? How long have we been
recording? Was good, though.
It was good content. It wasn't science.
It was education, though. And I think that the best teachers are the ones that kind of give context and, get you inspired about the subject.
Yeah. No, you got me inspired about talking to you in the world, not about the subject at all. Yep. Springs. That's how we got there. Kangaroos.
Oh, yeah. That was a fun tangent. Kangaroos. I'll cycle this bit more back to science. It's a very efficient way to move, because if you think about when you're walking, you have to put in effort in every individual step, a little bit, not loads. Walking's very efficient as well. It's one of the reasons why humans are very successful creatures. But kangaroos is very efficient, because if you think of it as a spring, they spring forwards, they land, it compresses the spring, and most of the energy that they've used in taking that first step is then stored up in the spring, and then when they spring back up, they just use that same energy again. So they don't have...
do they have the same muscles, or are their muscles, like, slightly different to ours?
I think they're quite different, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Are they... This is going to sound really stupid, but do they look like springs? Do they have like springy bits in them or anything to be good at being springs? Because I never feel like my muscles are that helpful when I'm jumping.
It's more. They're not like coiled springs.
No.
They're
I
more
got
like
that, but
rubber
I just
bands.
wondered if they evolved to have slightly different muscle fibres or anything that were more springy.
I'm sure they have. To be honest,
Any kangaroo scientists, please get in touch.
Oh, I'd love that. Anyone that wants to pay for us to go to Australia Zoo as well.
Yeah. Maybe we should try and get booked on the Australian festivals. Go out and do Lexx Education live.
That would be good. I want to meet the Irwins.
That's my tummy rumbling.
That was your tummy. Wow.
Yeah, I've got a rumble in my tumble.
Anywho, so the relationship that we've just talked about, force equals spring constant times extension. This does not just apply to pulling springs. It also applies to the compression of an elastic object.
Yeah, okay. That's the push me pull you thing I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Sure. Now, do you remember the concept of work?
Yep.
Do you want to just a little nip of a definition?
Have
Have you seen this, by the way? Gnocchi's literally sat in the crook of my arm.
She's needy today.
Yeah.
She's up in the neediness on the podcast by 3%. It's when force displaces an object, that is work.
Yeah, it is. So it's work is defined by the amount of force you applied and the distance that went that it pushed something. Ow! Go then, go. A force that a force that stretches a spring is doing work. You see?
Yeah, because it's moving one end of the spring.
Yeah. And the work that is done is then stored as elastic potential energy in the spring.
Yeah, ready to go boing or pling. In my head, those noises really illustrated going out or back in. I realised now they did not at all.
No. Provided the string is not inelastically deformed, the work done on the spring and the elastic potential energy stored are equal. Do you remember last time when we spoke that if you stretch a spring too far and you break it, then you ruin all of these formulas? None of them work anymore if you break the spring.
Yeah, it's like having normal work done. If you go too far, suddenly you've undone all your work. You know?
What do you mean normal work? Oh, you mean like plastic surgery?
Plastic surgery, yeah. If you've had work done, you know? You have it done, there's a limit, and then bring, broken. Now you just don't look quite like a human face anymore, and people's eyes will scrinkle when they see you.
That's the uncanny
It's
valley.
your choice. You do what you do, no judgment. But I think we read faces weirdly when they've had too much work done or too much. It's a judgment call, isn't it? That it's not my value judgment to give, but
Well, you seem to be digging yourself a pit that no one's asked for.
I know.
So it says students should be able to describe the difference between a linear and non-linear relationship between force and extension. So do you know what a linear relationship is, Laura?
It's like a relationship where, like, if I pull, it comes with me, and it's coming with me at the same rate that I'm pulling. We're growing at the same rate, kind of a deal. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong. It's just like you stand on stage with a microphone as a job and communicate with people, and then you try and do something like this, and it's just like the worst word salad. I've seen you do hour-long shows that have made people cry. And then...
I know what I'm talking about there. I never talk about stuff that I'm not confident in. This, maybe linear just means like it's quite straightforward, the relationship. It's just going in one direction. A line. It's a line. Is it that? Is it a straight line? No backtracking. It's no squiggles.
So it basically just means that it's proportional. So if...
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah, but do you see how I said it in one word?
Oh, but you're a scientist. And if I'd said proportional, you'd probably have said, explain that to me without using the word that basically means linear.
Well, no, I'd have said explain that to me because I just want to make sure you haven't read it on the back of a crisp packet and parroting it back to me. You actually understand what it means.
Explanation I'd already bloody given.
Yeah, but again, Laura, I said, yes, you're right. It just means that it's proportional.
Yeah, but you kind of went, yes, you're right, you tiny idiot.
No, that's
What's
you
wrong with
projecting.
Your mouth? I don't think it is. I've dropped my pen now. Ooh, found another gel pen under the table. Okay.
So if I put in twice as much force, I'm going to extend the spring extend the spring twice as far. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whereas an example of a non-linear relationship would be an exponential one. So if I put in twice as much force, I might extend it 4 times as far.
Pretty cool. Pushing a ball down a hill has an exponential relationship.
Does it?
Yep.
Okay.
Because it'll gather speed as it goes down.
So the last thing that it wants us to do is...
Said well done there.
Well, I mean, we have no idea of knowing if that's right.
Feels right, doesn't it?
It's boring enough that I'm not going to answer.
Let's do another podcast called Feels Right, doesn't it? And we just sort of say stuff that... No, wait, that's all podcasts. Just say stuff that you just sort of blindly assume is right without really checking.
To be fair,
thinking about it, that's most online conversations.
It is intoxicating, though. Like, we talked for 5 minutes earlier about all of that stuff, and it was the best I've ever felt on this podcast. Okay, if you
Half-remembered things and facts that are not facts, it's podcasts.
So it also says, Laura, students should be able to calculate a spring constant in linear cases. So we're going to do some, okay?
All right, then. I've made a boob out of some blue tack. Look, it's got quite a convincing nip, I think. Boob. Call me a boob. I'd never call anyone a boob. You're a boob. What film's that from?
Look Who's Talking.
Oh,
quite a good guess, though.
Yeah.
So, Laura, it takes
2 to tango.
A force of 500 to extend a spring 1 meter.
Hang on. Writing time.
What's the spring constant?
Wait! I said wait, you fuck.
That was a bit much, huh?
Well, you heard me say wait, and I said I was writing, and you carried on.
But I'd given all of the information. I was just finishing off the question.
But it wasn't until you got to the end of saying force 500 newtons, that was when I'd selected a gel pen and decided to write this down. Then I had to remember 500 newtons. Well, in fact, you didn't say newtons. You just said force 500. I remembered it was newtons. And now I've written that down. And now I don't know the rest of the information. What was it, please, sir?
A distance of... I'm going to change it, actually.
Why?
10 metres. We're extending this spring. 10
Okay.
metre spring. What's the spring constant?
Okay, so... Force. So we've got 500 equals X times 10. So to get x, we've got to divide both sides by 10. So the spring constant is 50 newtons per metre.
Yes, very nice. Well done. Okay, let's do a different one just to test your maths.
Is it? Is that right?
Yeah. You divide 500 by 10. Gnocchi could do that.
Fuck you.
For context, listener, Laura said she was quite stressed before this recording. So I'm doing my best to wind her up. She's got nothing going on in her life.
Not rising to the bait. It's fine. Who even needs access to their own Facebook account? What does it matter if some scammer on the internet's got all of my personal messages and bank details?
So, Laura, if it took a force of 47.5 newtons to extend a spring...
Oh, hang on.
8 centimetres, what's
That's
the
a
spring
much harder
constant?
sum. 8 centimetres?
Yup.
Wait. Well, first of all, I need that to be metres. So, I'm going to multiply everything by 100. Am I? I am, just because... So, if I multiply... Do I need to multiply it by 100? I'll multiply it by 10 to get it into metres. That doesn't work. Then it's just 80.
Yeah, 80 metres isn't 8 centimetres, is it?
No, and 80 centimetres is still not a metre. Wait, no, I can just call it 0.08 of a metre.
Yep.
That's easier. So, I've got to divide 47.5 by 0.08. 47.5 divided by 0.08 equals 593.75.
Sounds about right.
I hate it when you haven't worked out the answer.
Why?
Because it makes me feel like all was for naught.
Well, I've just pulled random numbers out of my head to...
Well, pull them out and find the answer. Do the work, Ron.
No.
Yes.
No.
Why not?
Because it's just like, it's fine, isn't it? I find it really hard, to make the content for physics because it's so dry. And it's like, like if this was biology and we were learning about something, I'd do a bit of research and I'd find some cool examples around it or something, or, maybe because I'm a top legend, they just come off the top of their head. But when we're just talking about springs, it's like... Can you think of any good springs?
I did think of a cool one.
Yeah.
Those big car ones.
And honestly,
hey,
that's why they pay you the silly money, because you do have just a good spring on the back of the noggin for when the weirdest heckler ever comes up.
Is a slinky a spring? What's going on when a slinky goes down the stairs?
That's for another day. But no, a slinky's not a spring.
Let's make a note of that for Patreon.
No, a slinky is if you pull a slinky like sideways.
This is your first detention, Ron. You have to explain slinkies.
I think slinkies might be a bit like...
No,
I'm not doing it now. But I think slinkies might be a bit like bikes, like nobody knows how they work.
Oh. They get top heavy, don't they?
What?
I don't know how a slinky works. Bikes do, yeah, if you put too many people
If you're on a bike, yeah.
What do you mean no one knows how a bike works?
Nobody knows how a bike stands up.
No, that's bumblebees.
That's both. No, honestly, nobody knows why when you're on a bike, it stays upright.
Get off bikes, everyone. That can't be true. Who invented them? They must have had a good idea.
The Romans, I think.
No, they didn't. Romans didn't have bicycles.
No,
they did have the wheel. They didn't have bicycles.
I think it was Victorian times.
Yeah, that
Why
sounds
do
about right.
bikes stay upright?
Suddenly appear every time. I think it's just momentum. It's like every time they're on a bit of ground they would wobble, they're not on it anymore. Wait. Imagine if a bumblebee was riding a bike, physicists would shit their pants. This isn't possible.
I'm reading an article called Your Bike's Secret to Staying Upright is Actually a Mystery, and then the first sentence of the article is everybody knows how a bike stays upright. Oh, no, wait, but then it says, or do they? Okay.
Always read the whole card.
God, we should play a bit of Magic the Gathering when I'm in Brighton.
Yes, please.
I haven't played Magic the Gathering apart from on my phone in ages, and it's not as good.
Oh, I forgot I had it on my phone. No, me neither. Tom doesn't really like playing anymore.
Why?
I don't know. Every time I've suggested it, he's just said no.
Fuck. He had that hobby for 25 years and he introduced us to it. It's just...
We can suck the fun out of anything.
He honestly probably just thought it was too boring for us to worm our way in like little bold gnocchis. Yeah, no.
I do have a lot more money since you moved away and we stopped buying cards all the time.
Same. Although that was lockdown, that was fine.
Yeah, and you should move back.
Don't. We're going to move, though, in Brussels.
Where? Just in Brussels?
Yeah.
Why don't you move to a quiet suburb called Brighton? It's lovely.
Everything's fine, Laura.
You can live with me. Rent-free for a year.
Just a year.
10 years. You could live with me till gnocchi time.
Anyway, let's not pull this thread.
Come on, Ron. You know you want to.
Calculate work done in stretching or compressing a spring using the equation.
All right. That's what we just did, right?
No.
Wouldn't it be the same?
Why would
I've
it
made
be?
a woodlouse out of my blue tack now.
Right
oh my
out.
God, I'm being Will. I'm literally playing with blue tack.
Yeah, you are very much like Will. Right, okay. Can you please write out the what am I trying to say? The equation for spring extension.
I don't know it.
F equals Ke.
F equals K.
Force equals K, the spring constant, multiply by E for extension.
Oh, it's the same as the spring constant one. Oh, I didn't know it was K. That's fun.
Yeah, Hooke's law.
Hooke's law.
Look at all these
like
mayonnaise-y
coleslaw, but
hooks.
It might ruin your cheek skin. That's what a fish is eating when it gets yoinked out. Annoying. Oh no, I don't even like Hooke's law.
I love coleslaw. When I was a kid, Mum used to make me coleslaw sandwiches for taking to school.
She did. Do you ever have coleslaw on pizza?
No, but I would. That sounds good.
It's the best thing Louise ever introduced me to. In Sweden, like cabbage salad is common to have on pizza, but basically it's slightly less mayonnaise-y coleslaw.
So
but put coleslaw on pizza,
coleslaw,
man.
add some mayo to it, and then you laugh.
Well, even having the salad as they have it, delicious. It adds an excellent edge to pizza. But coleslaw on pizza, man, game changer.
Yeah, no, I see that being good because I like my food to be wet.
Yeah. It's delicious, but extra crunch, but in the cheese. Mom.
Yeah, that sounds good. Anyway, and then can you write out the formula for work done?
Work done. Yes, right. Here we're looking at work, which is in joules, equals force in newtons times distance. So what would the letter for work be?
W?
It's W. Okay, so that one is just W equals F E. Because E is distance for some reason.
E is extension.
Is that the same as distance?
Well, when you're pulling a spring, yes.
What would I put it on in my work done formula? What letter? Just D for distant?
Yeah.
Hi, gnocchi.
Please, for the love of God.
She just appears from any angle into the camera field. It's amazing.
Honestly, it's fucking exhausting. So, we need to work out, Laura, how much work is done when we extend our spring, don't we?
Probably.
So, how can we do that with these two formulae?
Well, we know the force and the newtons in our spring extensions, so we multiply them.
Say that again, sorry.
We know the newtons and the distance in our spring extension calculation, so we just multiply them and then we get the joules. What? Maybe I don't know what we're doing.
I'm not following you. You mean what are you multiplying?
Force times distance equals work done.
Yeah, but what we want to do, sorry, is hang on, give me a second.
Are you really hot? Which one of Ron's classics is it? It's very hot. I need some water. I'm in the wrong chair.
I don't know how you do this and you don't ever drink a sip of water.
I never drink water, Ron.
Why not?
Because it's a myth that we need it.
Yeah, but why? Water's nice.
No, it isn't. Also, now, every time I have a drink of water, she looks at it and goes, that, and then I have to share my water with her, and then my water tastes like whatever it is she's recently been eating.
Get different water.
Oh, she don't want that, though. She wants the one I've had.
Oh, that's like Judith, to be fair.
Kid's obsessed with me.
I just can't work out where the half has come from.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I really can't I just can't work out where the half has come from.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
No, I haven't really explained it to you.
No, you've just started muttering about half. We've only really got 5 minutes of the lesson left.
The thing is, so it's going to get you to combine these two formulas, right?
Yeah.
Because, so F equals KE in terms of force equals spring constant. But then
got
work
that written down
equals F E, essentially, like F times the extension.
Yeah.
So
that's what I've written down too. I'm a scientist as well.
Yeah, so what you can do is you can sub the F from the second one to be another KE, right? So your work done equals KE times E. But then when I'm looking at there's a half in there, and I don't know where it's come from. Because the actual formula is a half K times E squared. Yucky, get out of the drawer. Please. Please. And I just don't know how to Google finding out what I... Laura, I don't understand.
Me neither, Ron.
Combine these fucking equations, please. The work done on the spring and the elastic potential are equal. We might have to come back to this, because I'm just... Work done in stretching principles. Oh. This is saying that the formula for work done is a half force times distance.
Should we come back to this, because I've got to go and feed Squink in a minute?
Yeah. We'll have to come back to it.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
That's really thrown me off and I can't find an answer.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Okay. Do you want to just say something to that extent, and then we can just stick music in and just add 5 minutes on when you've clarified?
Yeah, I can't work this out. We're and the second bloody physics in a row, we're gonna have to put a pin in that. And
Bloody hell, physics! Look at you getting cranks. All right, Ron. Well, listen, we'll put some jingly music in, and we will return to this when you've had time to investigate.
we will return.
Are we saying that we had a gap?
Yeah, we say it at the end of the last record bit. Then
Okay.
I had to go away and figure it all out.
Are we doing the quiz as well?
No, I figured we'd just do the quiz next time.
Okay. Well, Ron, how did your figuring out go?
I had to text a friend, and it was quite embarrassing.
Was it Noah?
No, I've been bothering Noah so much recently that I couldn't text. So I'm learning how to code for my job, and Noah knows.
No one knows.
Noah knows the statistical language R, and just a lot more about coding and development and stuff than me. So I've had to ask him so many questions recently, and really dumb ones sometimes, just about getting it set, because you'd think it would just be like download a thing and get going, but it's not. It's really not. There's so much to it. But so I couldn't ask him, so then I had to ask my friend Max. Congratulations on the
Max.
engagement, Max.
That's so exciting.
Yes.
To the travelling lady.
Travelling lady.
The lady that he was going to go travelling with.
Yes, okay.
I can see how that's come out weird.
He made it sound like he's engaged to a travelling Bible salesperson or something.
No, just a normal lady. The lady, I've met her. She's very gentle. They're both quite gentle people.
Max isn't gentle.
Yeah. He can be. He's got that he'd move a ladybird air to him.
Sometimes he'd stamp on the ladybird.
Oh, Max, don't do that.
Max doesn't listen. Max did listen for a bit. I don't think he does anymore. If he does, then he's a very good friend because he never mentions it. But I mean,
Why is that a very good friend?
just to listen and enjoy, and not sort of feel like you have to make it known that you listen. Just quiet support. Not that anyone that does make it known they listen is a bad, but you know what I mean.
Ron stuck himself into a hole of anxiety.
No, but he once said that he was always disappointed when we got off the tangent and back onto the science.
Yeah, that's fair. Me too, Max. I do my best to keep us in Tangent Alley.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, I messaged Max about it. So I don't know how much I explained about
Tangentially.
How much I explained about what was fucking me up last time, but I'll explain it now.
My notes look absolutely nosebleed boring for this episode.
Yeah, it was a bad.
It's not even a little bit of fun. It's like I'm not even there.
It was a bad episode, and to be honest, I really should have come back with Toasty Chat too, just to sort of lift the end of the episode.
I'd forgotten we hadn't even finished an episode. That's where my attention span's at, so don't worry about it, Ron.
Yeah, luckily, Dara O'Brien next week, so that's going to bring all those listeners back.
Wicked.
So where it came from is that we know, you and I know, us...
Actually, I can't remember if we said Dara for episode 52 or if it was going to be for the year point.
Well, 52 would be the year, wouldn't it?
No, because we dropped 3 episodes on day 1.
Oh, shit. Edit this out.
It's your edit. We'll see what you do.
I didn't edit it out.
I've got it scheduled. No, I've got it scheduled for episode 55. It will be the 3rd of July. Because we started on the 4th of July last year.
Can we just take a break for a few weeks? Because I don't like that the 52 isn't the year.
Well, we can release it on 52 as a year's worth of episodes.
But then that's weird as well.
Well, I think I think that's right. Sometimes, yes, reasons, and sometimes it's giving into an anxiety. And I think stopping a successful regular podcast just before you've reached a year of routinely released episodes, just to satisfy your brain glitching, that's fool. That's a fool's heritage.
That's God, haven't we been consistent though?
We've been so consistent, Ron.
What do you think our worst episode was?
I'm really proud of us. This one. I don't know, because the thing is, the ones that I think, like, there was one the other day that I was like, oh, this is fucking dull. We just talk about science for an hour. And somebody was like, oh, this has been my favourite episode yet. It was so gentle and lovely, and you just got along and talked about science. And I was like, oh, some people like this. So I just think even when it's, I was thinking about this, and sorry to hark on about Complete Guide, but sometimes I get to the end of a Complete Guide episode, I don't care if nothing that's made me laugh out loud has happened. I've just loved hanging out with them for an hour.
Yeah.
And I hope that's how some people feel about this.
I was listening to the Complete Guide earlier, and it was very funny because they were talking about people they'd met in the UK comedy scene.
Did they say me?
I think this was before you'd met them.
Thank you for coming up with that excuse, Ron. That was very kind of you.
They were talking about how they got very drunk with Nish Kumar once.
Ah. What, is that on a...
It's in Books, the podcast, one of the episodes where they read 1984.
Oh, yeah, that's quite a while ago now, isn't it? I've just been finishing Wuthering Heights.
Wuthering Heights?
No, Wuthering. Tom doesn't know how to say Wuthering.
God, that book sounds dull.
Oh, I loved it. I think it's quite good.
Some of the classic book ones that they do, I get, like, I really wanted to read Little Women after they did that one. I didn't.
Little Women's good.
That sounded really nice. Wuthering Heights sounded awful.
No, Wuthering Heights is good.
I'm sure it is. History has decided that. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be talking about it.
I read it like as a teenager and found it really readable and followable and exciting as a teenager.
Yeah.
When they were saying, like, it's indeterminable and this and that, I was kind of like, oh, that's not... I remember it being one of the first old books that made me go, oh, it can be fun to read old books. Whereas, like, Pride and Prejudice, I was like, every single chapter... I read the whole thing and go, I am 100% certain there was no plot in that. And then we'd go into an English class and they'd talk about, well, you see here when she puts perhaps at the end of her sentence, that means this and that. And you'd be like, just use more exciting words then so that you know it at the time you're reading it. You don't have to go and sit in a circle and chat about it afterwards.
Yeah, for me, I think my old book growing up ones were To Kill a Mockingbird...
Great book.
Catcher in the Rye.
Never read it.
It's Catcher in the Rye. It's one of those books. I think you might have to be a teenager to really enjoy it. But
I am.
I think it's worth reading because it's so short that even if you're not loving it, you know, you can tick it off the classic books list relatively easily.
Yeah. Anyway, Ron, what are we supposed to do?
Oh, yeah.
Because for us, this is like the start of a record. But for the listener, they were midway through an episode where some science was happening.
Also,
and then we've swanned off.
I'm pretty sure.
Started doing this, haven't we?
I'm pretty sure we started off this episode and we talked about Otto English's fake history for like 10 minutes as well.
Yeah. This is a social sciences episode today.
I'd like to do an episode on books, maybe on the Patreon one day.
We can do that. Yeah, we can do an English episode.
I'd quite like to do that once.
Let's do it.
80 patrons books episode.
Oh my God. What? Are you even slightly making a note of this? You came up with one for 200 last week.
Did I?
Yeah.
What was it?
I can't remember now. I'm hoping you're writing them down.
No. I'm not.
Stop throwing out promises that you have no aim of living up to.
The cook-along I'll do. And a books episode. We'll probably
Hopefully
do that.
Even if we
don't have 80 patrons, we might do that. Anyway, so the confusion came last week because so we'd done work done. Work done equals the force being applied by the distance that it moved. And then we moved on to forces and elasticity. The force in elasticity equals the spring constant times the extension. There was then a sentence where it says, provided the spring is not inelastically deformed, the work done on the spring and the elastic potential energy are equal. Then I tried to combine the two formulae. So what you can do is you can sub the F equals KE equation into the W equals FS equation, because the distances are the same, so they become S or E squared, and then the F is then K. But then at the end of the section, it says that the formula for elastic potential energy is elastic potential energy equals a half Ke squared. And I was like, what? Where's that half come from? That doesn't make any sense to me. Then I spoke to Max about it, and he was like, yeah, it's because to actually find those, you've got to integrate the curve and find the area underneath it, and then that's basically finding out the area of a triangle, and it's because the force isn't always constant. The force changes as you extend.
Oh, that's really good.
So, the key thing to take away and potentially write down is elastic potential energy equals a half times K, which is the spring constant.
Hang on, it's going too fast, it's going too fast. Elastic potential energy.
Yes.
Elastic potential energy
equals a half times the spring constant times the extension squared.
Ronald!
But I can't just say half a sentence.
You can. Half? What?
Half the spring constant, represented by the letter K.
Hang on, stop again. Okay, yes.
Multiplied by the extension squared.
This one's more complicated. What do you call extension? E?
E, Lily.
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 Oh, God.
Okay, so we need to be able to do sums with this, okay?
Okay.
So what? So let's say that the spring constant for a spring, Laura, is 119, and we extend that spring 2.5 meters. How much elastic potential energy is in that spring?
So, first of all, I need to halve 119. So, that's difficult because it's an odd number. So, what am I looking at? 59.5 there. Then squared is times by itself. So, it'll be 2.5 times 2.5. So...
Do you know what BODMAS is?
Oh, yeah. No. Bring old dogs more and angel squash.
Angel squash?
Yeah. Something like that, isn't it? 2.5 times 2.5 equals 6.25. And then just times those together, I believe. But I imagine you've told me this BODMAS thing because I've done it wrong. So, elastic potential energy, discounting BODMAS, 371.875.
Sounds about right.
Ah, screw you, BODMAS.
Do you want to know what BODMAS is?
It's something about the order you have to do maths in, isn't it? Like Byron trumps overlords.
Well, why would it
multiple,
be
add, subtract?
Yeah, it's brackets, order, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction.
Yeah.
So do whatever is in the brackets first.
There wasn't any. I didn't write any brackets.
No, that's fine. Well done. And then order, it means you do like things that are squared first and stuff like that.
Oh, well, that didn't matter because I wasn't going to do anything.
In this case, it didn't matter, but just in future. So
Yes.
Let's say that we have stored 123,000 joules of elastic
Is this going to be another sum?
energy.
Hang on,
Yes.
hang on. What have we done? 100 and what?
We've stored 123,000 joules of elastic potential energy.
That's a lot.
In a spring with a spring constant of 258. How far have we extended that spring?
So I've got to get E squared on its own, which means I've got to divide 123,000 by half of 258. Huh? Huh?
Gotta do the same to both sides.
I just said that, you squidge. Wait. 123,000 divided by, what would that be? 129 is 953. But then don't we want the square root of that? 953? Yeah, probably. How do you do square root? It's difficult, isn't it? Do you divide it by itself to get the square root?
Why don't you divide it by itself and see what happens?
Well, then I'll get 1, won't I?
Yeah. That doesn't matter what you divide by itself, you get a 1.
How do you do the square root, Ron?
There's a square root button somewhere on your calculator, I should think.
Oh, if I turn it sideways. Are you impressed with me for realising I need to get the square root, though?
No.
30.88.
30.88 what?
Meters.
Well done!
Yes!
And I think that's probably a good place to leave this weird, disjointed, booksy episode.
Yeah. Ron, I'm a big fan of being your sister.
Aw.
Okay.
So...
Now, this quiz is going to be tricky because we've done another episode since we did this episode, so I double don't know anything.
Yeah, luckily we didn't...
Oh, Ron, I used all my gel pens for Eurovision last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, for the scorecards. All the girls came over and we watched Eurovision, and my gel pens got used for something other than science, and they're so happy now.
That's very nice. I'm not having any more of you being angry at me for convoluting the podcast time continuum after this mention.
What?
You're always like, you can't mention that because it's going to make the fucking listeners' wigs blow off because...
Ron, I'm sorry, but the last thing we recorded was you doing a 10-minute tirade about how no one should listen to our podcast because it's all bad and bollocks. So I will talk about Eurovision having been last night, even though it's late June now, to my heart's confucking-tent. Thank you.
What did you think of the coronation?
I think it's very boring. I did watch nearly all of it, though, because Mum was staying, so we had it on.
I saw your tweet about the normal life thing. That was very funny.
Oh, my God, it was insane. It was just insane. The thing is, like, I do kind of get why Mum likes it, because she's like, oh, it's history. But it's uncomfortable history. Like, there's loads of history I wouldn't want to watch live. And continuing to crown, like, an overlord is probably one of them. Like, yeah, there's just quite a lot of history that, yeah, it is history, but it doesn't mean it's like phenomenal.
But also, one of the problems I had with it is like, yeah, it is history and like it is a little bit significant. We watched like a bit of it just out of interest. We watched like the most right wing fucking clip show of it just to sort of see like how nuts it got. But like it is history. But then they don't didn't explain any of the history during any of it. So it's like, oh, he's touching the sacred stone, and he's putting on the magic glove and all of this stuff, and he sat on like this wooden chair that looked awesome, and it was like, what's the history of that object? What the fuck's going on? Why is he touching all these sticks? Yeah, but that's because all the history
is, it's just well, we stole that from India, and that's Greek. That is from a country that's now called this in Africa, but hey, for 70 years we called it this because we thought it was more fun. Exactly, John Smith's garden. Like, that's literally the history of it all. So they can't, like, that's what's weird about it now, I think. It's like that William and Kate's kids being in a gold carriage and the commentator saying, like, oh, they just want them to be quite normal. I think if you're going to have a monarchy rolling around London in golden carriages in stolen gems, go balls out unapologetic. This, like, half-hodling on the line with Charles going, like, oh, it's going to be a pared down monarchy because I'm so with it and with your woke nonsense. No, you can't be like a moral king. That doesn't exist. You be one or the other, Charlie. And like, I'd have more respect for him if he just like absolutely went full dictator, or just call the whole thing off and admit that it's nonsense. But you can't. I think that's where like I've got even less patience with it, where it's trying to be both things.
I guess. I mean, I kind of go the other way, where I'm just like, it's fine if rich people want to waste their time doing shit like this and calling themselves like, oh, the Marchioness of Chamontley and things like this, as if that means anything or that's a skill. Fine, but just don't make the taxpayer pay for it.
Yeah, that part of it is bollocks. So there you go. There's the topical segment of this week's episode.
Quiz?
Yeah.
Okay.
For 51. Let me just flick to page 51. Oh no, it's just lots of numbers. Iron equals potassium.
Oh no.
I just did a periodic table joke for you, Ron.
Oh, that was a joke. I didn't realise.
Because it says F equals KE.
Okay.
Is that none of them?
F is
Iron
Fe.
F.
Potassium's K.
Okay, fluorine equals...
Because that's Fl.
No, it's just F on mine.
Yeah, you're right, sorry.
Is there an E?
There
Laura,
isn't
an E.
This is falling flat.
Because you're not reacting to it like a good Cole Pilkington ought to.
I have to say that after 10 plus years of being a boy a bit interested in science, the elements jokes lose their luster.
Sorry, Ron.
That's okay. You ready for the quiz? Now I've thoroughly crushed your spirit.
Yeah, well, now I just feel bad about everything. I was already tired and a bit hungry.
I
didn't even do any drawings in this episode. I must have been so sad.
We need to get out of this funk.
You brought the funk!
No, I'm in a funk.
Right, we'll ask a fucking question then.
That's not unfunking.
Hey, Ron, what's the first question? I eat questions for breakfast like delicious Gordon Ramsay eggs.
Oh, we're not a good family at this.
Why is the whole family being thrown under the bus now?
Because...
What's happening to you? Have you had breakfast? Have some breakfast, for fuck's sake.
I can't.
It's like trying to do a podcast with a dementor.
I'm recording a podcast right now. I'm busy. I hang a weight on a spring.
Is this the question? Or is this you telling me about your future plans?
This is a cry for help.
The whole podcast is a cry for help. I just thought it was mine.
I hang a weight on a spring. What forces are involved in the extension of the spring?
Gravity and newtons.
Newtons is the unit that forces are measured in. Gravity is correct. There's a gravitational pulling it down.
Mass.
Don't just say things. Don't just... It was fine in and around the eggathon, but I think just the boldly burping into the microphone needs to stop. There's behind the curtain, and there's that.
Just put a cute noise over the top of it.
Like, are we just going to start, like, ripping loud ass in the podcast? Like, where does it end?
Distance?
Is distance a force?
I don't know. Pulling, pushing.
Well,
Pulling?
The gravity's pulling. It, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't try and hold in your head...
Tugging.
Try and hold in your head the question that's been asked. So...
Forces.
I've hung a weight
spring?
on a spring. Yep.
Sounds like a song, doesn't it? I'm your weight on a string. Puppet on a string, that's what I'm thinking of.
Eleanor Rigby.
So gravity.
Hanging a weight on a spring.
Yeah. Gravity.
Did you hear that? That was my tum.
No. Oh, is that your Tompkin? Have some breakfast
I'm
then.
recording a podcast.
For all of our
Answer
sake.
the question, then I get breakfast sooner.
I did! Gravity!
Yes, what are the forces? Because if only one force is acting on something, then the continued effect of that force is going to keep happening, isn't it? If gravity is the only force acting on something, it's going to fall to Earth. But I haven't...
Not if you've stuck it on a spring.
Yeah, so there's another force.
Glue.
No.
What did you do? Like wind
glue
it
is
onto
not
the
a
string?
force.
Sticky?
Sticky's not a force.
Tell me the forces and I'll pick one.
Draw a diagram.
No! I don't want to ever draw diagrams. Diagrams make it harder to understand in my experience.
Okay, well... Why don't you flick back through your notes?
I'm looking at my
Maybe
notes.
you could go further back to the stuff that we did about forces.
Ugh. Elasticity? I've written that really big.
Oh yeah, because that was the title, not a force.
Trouble is, though, my physics notes are always just scribbles.
Let's move on. This is just question one of a quiz.
Weight is a force. Weight.
What defines something's weight? It's mass and the gravity acting upon it. You've said gravity in a few different forms.
Okay.
So, Laura, think about it this way. So I've hung the weight on the spring. The spring is extended, right? And then the weight has stopped moving down. What has stopped the...
Vector. No.
What has stopped the weight from moving down anymore?
The spring.
Yep. So what force is the spring applying to the weight?
Spring constant.
Don't just say things.
Spring intermittent. Spring.
The spring is pulling it back up, isn't it? And counteracting the force of gravity.
Up.
Down 5. Up. Do you get that?
Holding force?
I'm telling you right now, stop guessing. It's like, what's the capital of Poland? Gdansk? No, it's Warsaw. Berlin?
What have you said then?
The spring is pulling upwards and counteracting the force of gravity.
I've said spring and up. So,
Yes.
what's right then?
Because The spring is pulling its attention force.
You didn't say tension.
Because what you've said is not what I've said. You've used 2 words of the sentence, but you used them disconnected in between a bunch of other garbage. If I throw away eggs and flour into the bin, I have not made a cake just because they're both there.
Eggs. Your egg obsession.
Okay,
No wonder you
we're moving
never
on.
poop.
We're moving on. The mass of
How
the
many
object
points
there,
did I get there?
you
1.
got nothing.
I fucking did. I said gravity.
Oh, yeah, but it's 1 mark the whole question.
No, it isn't. It's 2 marks.
No. Carol, you decide.
Carol will let me have points, I know.
The mass of the object I've hung on the spring is 2.3 kilograms.
I can't hear you when you use that voice.
The mass of this object
That's
I've
better,
hung
actually.
on the spring is 2.3 kilograms.
Mm-hmm.
And the spring extends by 75 centimeters. What is the spring constant of that spring? Is that voice better?
This is the bit where we either really cement our fans or the podcast ends, isn't it?
I think anyone that's still listening after I told them that they were buckling in for 6 weeks of repetitive and bad content are the real fans.
What did you say? I didn't listen to any of the numbers.
But that's why I paused after them, because you always tell me off for going too quickly. The weight...
I was just waiting to see if it was something I was going to know.
The weight is 2.3 kilograms, and the spring extends by 75
Wait.
centimeters.
2.3 kilograms.
Yep, and 75 centimeters.
75 centimetres. What do you want me to do?
What is the spring constant of the spring? That's not good content, Laura. Don't do that. We can't just have a tapping bit. We can't.
Just edit it out, you fuck. You just edit it out. You're allowed to let me think, and then you just edit it out.
No.
It's like how, you know, when you watch a sitcom, they did that scene loads of times to practice it. You don't watch Ross and Rachel fucking fall out 9 times in a row. You just watch the one they liked. There's nobody going, oh, but I like all the behind-the-scenes bits. You just fucking cut it. So just cut it.
But I don't like to do that too much because I don't want to give the listener the impression you were that quick.
Well then, tapper, motherfucker. Because I need to think. The problem I've got here is that my numbers for a spring constant... I need to know the force. I don't know how to find out the force because you didn't tell me it.
But how would the force be? What? We've covered gravity before. Have we not?
Yeah, the moon.
So where's the force coming from that's pulling it down?
Gravity
Yeah.
and the weight.
So how do we work out the gravitational force?
Something to do with the weight. But what I was doing while I was tapping, and I was so rudely interrupted, was trying to find the little sum that works out how you get force off the weight.
Do you want me to just tell you?
Oh, I wanted to work it out alone, but seeing as you are so angry with me, the world, and our podcast format, yeah, why don't you just tell me the answers
No.
and I just won't even come to these recordings?
That's okay. You flick through your book and see if you can find the bit on gravity. I'm just going to clap a nice rhythm while you do that.
Can you clap it right onto your frontal lobe?
What the fuck's Dara gonna think?
Is that what's causing this breakdown?
I want to get things ship-shape before Dara O'Brien arrives.
Yeah, you're just cleaning up, cleaning house.
No. I actually think our podcast is very good. That's a clip for the socials.
Despite what I've said.
Despite what I went on record saying.
I wouldn't listen to it, but you idiots should. Oh, Ron, I don't know how to make a weight a force.
Times it by 9.81.
No, that's not the answer.
It is.
We've never discussed that.
We have.
We have not. 9.81?
Yeah.
Get fucked a bait. No. No. 9.81?
Yeah.
That is a lie. Is that Tricko?
No,
We've never talked about that, Ron.
times it by 9.81.
That's insanity.
Why is that insanity?
Well, who's carrying that around in their back pocket?
I literally just told you that. Off my back pocket.
For the first time, by the way.
No.
I hate this. Sorry. I've lost my calculator. So, 2.3 times 0.981. So the
No. 9.81.
For God's sake. 2.3 times 9.81. So the force is 22.6 newtons. What am I trying to find?
The spring constant.
Spring constant. Delicious piece of kit. So now I need to divide 22.6 by 0.75, which is the distance. Wait, what? No, times. 16.95?
No, because you should have divided it.
Oh, 30 something then. Oh, I was right.
Yeah, you were right the first time, so I will give you the mark.
You're going to give me the mark?
Yeah, no, because you were right the first time. You just doubted yourself, but that's okay.
Thank you.
Now, Laura, what is the spring constant? Like, what does the spring constant describe?
Stretchiness of the spring.
Yeah, nice. Okay. How much elastic potential energy have we stored in the spring?
A little bit. So, is that work? Is that joules?
Energy.
Oh, no, half times the spring constant.
Times.
Extension squared.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I've written that really confusingly. That much, then.
Which equals?
Oh, don't make me do the sums.
Okay, yeah, you get the mark. What's the difference?
Ron! Yes, good. I don't want to do the numbers. No one cares. Everybody just say some numbers out loud and that's the answer.
3. What's the difference between inelastic and elastic extension?
One of them you have to get planning permission for, and the other one is just about inside, hanging out. But tish. Just because it's a Ron edit, so he won't do that.
No.
What was the question? I'm sorry?
What's the difference between inelastic extension and elastic extension?
One is stretchy and one is not. Oh, one goes back and one doesn't.
No.
Whoop, 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 whoop. One returns to its original
In
form.
terms of sort of the stuff that we've been talking about.
Oh, I don't know then.
Elastic extension obeys the formulas and stuff that we've been talking about.
Traffic
Inelastic
lights.
extension doesn't.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay, so that was some marks out of some marks. Carol.
Ron, your job is to keep on top of this stuff.
We got no marks for the first one.
I did. I said gravity.
2 marks in the middle, and then you didn't get the last one. So 2 out of 4 ain't bad.
Wonderful. God, I hope you cheered up by the end of the outro.
Yeah, that was an episode, wasn't it?
It was an episode 1. Are you hungover?
No.
No. How many? What did you drink last night?
Beer.
How many beers?
Like 8 or 9, probably.
Whoa! Nice beers?
Yeah.
Did you have any tuaca?
No.
Huh.
I didn't do any shots. I don't do shots.
Tuaca's not really a shot, though. It's
It
nice.
is.
Not really.
Why?
Well, because it's just... shots are like horrible things.
Yeah. But, no, a shot is just 25 millilitres of something.
Yeah, well, I have 30 millilitres of tuaca and then it's not a shot, is it?
Blimey! What are we talking about?
Your face. Ron, you have put in the notes possible detentron of the slinky thing.
I didn't put that in the notes.
You must have done.
I don't think I did.
Well, you edited the episode and I haven't listened to it, so who else did?
Well, I also wouldn't have had the wherewithal to mention that pop quiz
No,
was
I
out
just
last
added that.
Yeah.
You
It's part of the
wrote
same
your
sentence.
notes that you said you tried hard on were possible detention of the slinky thing and what do you think our worst episode was?
Oh, yeah, because I think this is a contender. It's a 3-parter. That's why I was going to say at the top. It's a 3-parter. And at the beginning of every part, we talk for like 10 minutes about something else.
Why are you sabotaging the podcast from the inside?
I'm not. It makes us seem vulnerable and nice.
I think it makes us seem vulnerable so people are sort of scared to stop listening in case we sort of just fall off a cliff on purpose.
Yeah.
That's not the listenership you want, Ron. I don't think we want people to feel like,
I think we want codependency with our listeners.
Us listening to the podcast is all they've got.
Yeah. Why sugarcoat it?
I think we're supposed to make it so people listen to the podcast because we're cool and they feel cool by association. Not like the listeners are our last lifeline.
But we're not cool. We're squatting in a hutch. A hutch that's alive with nature. The microphone's on Volo's Guide to Monsters. We're not cool.
Yeah, but that's not our book. That's Husband of the Podcast.
No, but I covet it greatly.
Oh, steal it. He'll never notice. So, yeah, what do you think our first episode was? And why was it this one? Hey, if you want more of this and more of us, then join the Patreon, £3 a month. And
So much bloody content on there now.
so much content there. There was a new pop quiz out Friday. I got tested with some actual questions.
And turns out the actual questions are easier than the ones...
Way easier
Yeah.
than Ron's. Not even a competition, even though it was because it was a quiz. Yes, and we're back next week into the calm waters of biology, which is a mystery to everyone at the moment because it's not yet edited. So how fun is that? It's a deadline now. The 7-day deadline is ticking down and a big red clock in the corner.
For you to edit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you just really looked at me like... Do I need to say something?
No.
Okay.
Always, yeah. But you're looking at your phone, so... No.
Yeah, I've got the Patreon.
Yeah, we're not doing that bit yet, though, are we?
Why not?
Because we're talking about something else, Ron.
Yeah, I was getting it ready.
Fuck me.
But that's what we do.
What do you mean that's what we do?
That's part of this segment.
Yeah, so get it up when we're doing it.
I am.
I think I'm quite mad at you that you're leaving.
Yeah.
It's coming out in the intros.
You tend to resent.
Yeah, especially you. I Ron-sent you.
I'm sorry.
Just do it.
Just go.
Just do the roll call. What does it matter? You're leaving anyway.
Okay. Thanks, Tom, maybe. Official fact checker of the podcast.
Speaking to the microphone.
Official fact checker of the podcast. Scrolling. They're still working their way through episode 1, sentence 1, and there will be some time. And we'll be there for some time. Thank you to Scott. Cleans out.
Oh, you're just doing all of them this week.
Well, you haven't copied them in.
I've got this. I wrote them.
That's not true. I wrote them.
And then I had to edit them because you said I'm doing a bit where I'm too tired to write them properly, and you'd given everyone dog shit jobs. So I had to rewrite them to make sure everyone actually had a nice job.
No, they weren't mean jobs.
You just said Robert was an electron, and that was it. That was the end of it.
That was quite funny.
It's funny.
You really laughed at the Bob quiz.
It's not kind to people who've queued up to get a job, so just read them out, you naughty.
Scott, he cleans out the sawdust and cool guy stuff from Ron's hutch.
Read it more illegibly.
Well, Ron sits in a small crate in the garden. Cheryl Turner. Now, my one for Cheryl Turner this morning was Cheryl Turner's in charge of popping the quizzes. Maybe the listeners can hear dog fucking in the background. My parents' dog has been fucking Mackie raw this week, and it's horrible. Everywhere you look, just the little red rocket poking her in the ear. Sorry, Cheryl. Cheryl Turner personally records all the sound effects that we use on the podcast. Is former Miss Chicken impersonator, 1992. And finally, the biggest thanks of all, maybe, to Robert Barker. He's the union representative for electrons, currently campaigning against the smear campaign that has the world calling them the sad boys. Hey, they're not always sad. He unfortunately cannot do the work pro bono. What the fuck does that mean?
It's proton. He can't work.
Well, then you should have said proton bono.
Maybe you should have.
It's bad.
Fuck you. Goodbye, everyone.
We hope you love us.
No, that's not the
Class
catchphrase to
dismissed.
this episode.
Class dismissed.
Say it again.
Class dismissed.
Bye.